SiriusXM Video lets you watch your favorite SiriusXM show on the SiriusXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artist you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
You know SiriusXM has over 100 extra channels on the SiriusXM app filled with ad-free music made for everything you do. Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
You need. It's always a home game when you listen to the NFL, NHL, NBA, and MLB on the all-new SiriusXM app.
How good is that?
We fuel your fandom with NASCAR, the biggest college games, PGA, and soccer. And when news breaks, hear instant reaction.
We got a big developing story out of Cincinnati.
The all-new SiriusXM app. Everything a sports fan needs, all in one place.
Flex your musical muscles with a new channel. Feature hip-hop from the 2000s. In the 2010s.
Sit down.
On Flex 2K. Now, SiriusXM Channel 49 in the SiriusXM app. Included in all trials and popular plans. To hear Flex 2K, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. You gotta get this. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. You gotta get this. You gotta get this.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 0181486.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe. And that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood, February 23rd, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sent you, where the good Lord split you. If that makes sense, dear, really do appreciate that, as well as driving a fleet of Cadillac cars. I want to tell you, what a great day in Dimdale Hills, California. It's Happy Friday. Give Happy Friday some praise. I say give it praise, praise, praise. I want to tell you, Big C Sports Podcast coming to you worldwide on 29 podcast applications and also streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. I love telling you this. I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I know I could use more laughter. And then the commercials are done. The stats are provided. I do the storytelling, I do the play-by-play, and then the show's uploaded to 29 podcast applications out of New York City. And I'm in Dignity Hills, California, number 10. I never miss a show since creating Big C Sports with the crew back in the days of Salem Media. And I want to say, give that some praise. I said, give it praise. Also, I love being a part of the Veterans Crisis Hotline because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And they really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know, anybody going through issues, pick up the phone and call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give it some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. And it's nice when somebody's leaning back. Really do appreciate our Veterans Crisis Hotline. I want to tell you some of the things that I love about Big C Sports Podcast. You know I'm pro reparations. I will always champion until it's paid out. Reparations now, reparations forever. And just for some cynical people who say, oh, Big C, that's never going to happen. You know, they just had a meeting and another announcement just a few days ago this week. And talking about the progress of reparations during Black History Month. Give Black History Month some praise. I'm trying to put a petition in the Congress that every day is Black History Day. We don't need it every month, but we do need it every day. The same thing, Big C. Yeah, but some people don't listen. We want to have Black History Day. All life came from the African continent, according to science. All's fair and love and work. I want to tell you, you know, sometimes you ever have something that's so good. You just want some more, Eddie. You know, there's a thing where I watched this movie called Malcolm X, and I was watching it last night, and Malcolm X has so much passion in him, and he always talked about by any means necessary, and that's what I'm looking at with reparations because there are groups all over this world that have gotten reparations, and then when it comes to beautiful, intelligent African Americans, oftentimes people want to find a caveat and say, yeah, but what? It's about time. And I want to make sure that I do my part. And with Big C Sports, I believe in either lead, follow, get out of the way, and get that some praise, either lead, follow, or get out of the way. I want to say also, I want to help people protect their assets. We have a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth with RDC Consulting Inc. Oh my goodness, long-term care solutions by the book, over 3 decades of experience. And what we have, our program is actually sponsored by Congress. 1966, President Lyndon Baines Johnson, he was with Martin Luther King Jr., and when he signed the Civil Rights Act, it had a mandate in long-term care that people may not know about it. You ever hear of Medicare and then taking care of tomorrow, and then health care coverage, Medi-Cal in California, all fair level work. So what I say, why join? Oh my goodness, why join the Big C team? I'm going to tell you why. It's important when you affiliate yourself with people. We have attorneys, Mr. George Jones, ESQ, chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce. We have California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. We have Mr. Leon Woods, a resource development consultant and one of the top lobbyists in California. We have Ms. Cheryl Brown, the chair of the California Commission on Aging. We have Mr. Ray De La Cruz, CEO of Resource Development Consulting. We have Mr. Alex De La Cruz, founder of American Veterans Benefits. And I want to say, you can give that some praise because we're not shucking and jiving. And why choose us? Big C, I'm calling it Business Development Consulting. We specialize to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets, if that makes sense to you. That's part of my commercial. Without a spin down in California, all paperwork and communication liaisons with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists. Ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary. Benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescription medical equipment costs, and more. Protection of your assets, if that makes sense to you, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family, avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program, which can be up to 40%. A one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. Give that some praise. I told you I'm working on a commercial. You've all heard of Deion Sanders and also Nick Saban when they were doing the commercial for with that duck. Well, I realized after a lot of research, you know that ducks cannot talk. They can't talk. So if the duck cannot talk, then how these good old boys get together and choose a duck to do the promotion of their in coverage. It's called gap insurance. Does it protect your asset? No, it's not. It's called gap insurance. But what we do with RDC, we protect your assets. That's important. And we don't use a duck. I don't even think that duck was paid. It's all fair and level war. But my commercial is really how to help people protect their assets. I love doing that. All fair and level. Giving that some praise. All fair and level war. I got to tell you, I love doing what I do with Big C Sports Podcast because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I love paying homage to the California Reparations Task Force. If we don't do it, or let me say it right, if I don't do it, then we can't count on other people doing it. Because reparations is happening right now. It's in the California legislation. And I do appreciate some of the members that are a part of it, that are making it happen. And on every sports show, I'm not just going to talk about touchdown. Let me do it right. Touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Oh, man, Willie, he's going all the way. I want to thank this great country of ours for having the dialogue to have people agree and disagree. But whether you agree or disagree on reparations, if you are such a fool that you don't agree with reparations, then next time you're supposed to get paid, tell them no, you work for free. Just tell them no! Because that's what they told descendants of child slavery. That's why I love giving praise to the California Reparations Task Force. It was at the Secretary of State building in California. It was June 29th, 2023. And I want to tell you, I want to give everybody the praise. The chair, Camila Moore, she's brilliant. I love giving her praise. Dr. Amos C. Brown, the vice chair, he's brilliant. I love giving him praise. It's California Senator Stephen Bradford, the number one senator in the history, in my opinion, of the United States. He helped crop name, image, and likeness for college student athletes to help them get paid on their name, image, and likeness. He also sponsored the Ebony Alert that helps law enforcement put the same amount of resources into finding black children that are missing as they do in the Amber Alert in finding white children that are missing. That's a fact. I want to give him some praise for that. He's also part of the California Reparations Task Force. I want to give praise to Councilmember Monica Montgomery Steppe. She's brilliant. Love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. And I want to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, part of the California Reparations Task Force. As a Japanese American, he got reparations. His family did for being interned in internment camp. Give them all some praise. I either lead, follow, or get out of the way. And with Big C Sports, I want to make sure that I do everything I can to lead. I'm not just going to tell somebody what they should do. I want to be the person that's responsible for doing it. I don't want to push the authority or the responsibility onto somebody else. I'm going to do it. And that's why I love doing Big C Sports Podcast. I want to thank This Is CNN, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I want to thank T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I want to thank PNC Private Bank, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I won $6 billion. And I mean that. I'm going to tell you, I'm not shucking a job. I want to thank Double O, part of the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She sent me the Executive Order 13985 on further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. And that's called the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and that makes sense to you. And I want to thank, I want to thank Senators Marco Rubio and Rick Scott out of Florida. They reintroduced the Holocaust Survivors' Rights Bill. That was last year over the summertime, giving them praise. I want to give praise to Georgetown University. They pledged over $1 billion and counting for descendants of chattel slavery that were sold off. They were sold to pay off the debts for Georgetown. Could you imagine if someone grabbed your child right now and they said, we got to sell your child so we can pay off our debts? What? Yeah, we gotta sell your child. In fact, we're going to sell your grandparents, your grandmothers, your grandfathers, your great-grandmothers, your great-grandfathers, your mother, your father, your wife, your children, your siblings. We're going to sell them all. And then you have some knuckleheads that say there should be no repair for that. You know, kidnapping has a crime. You know, you can go to prison for kidnapping somebody. But if you were African American, the country was so draconian, they said you could do it for free with impunity. In the eyes of God, it was always wrong in the eyes of God. But in the eyes of the devil, there's no such thing as wrong. But as conscious people came to a conclusion that we've done wrong by people of color. And that's why when President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, you know he did it with the help of Frederick Douglass. You got to know that. And he promised black men who joined the Union Army, if they helped them win the Civil War, he promised them freedom, 40 acres and a mule. We know what happened when Lincoln was assassinated. President Andrew Johnson came along and he vetoed the bill, and he gave the land back to the segregationists. He gave the land back to the kidnappers. Now, just when you argue, oh, we don't need no reparations. If a child was kidnapped, you know they bring down the power of the law to get that child back. They bring the power of the law to get that child back. But, you know, there would also be punitive damages to the perpetrator, if that makes sense to you. So what happened to that same reasoning when it comes to reparations for descendants of child slavery, where men, women, and children were sold with impunity? What's impunity, Big C? Google it. There was no crime to pay from 1619 to 1865. You didn't pay a damn penny. And now people argue that we don't need to pay a penny. But let a child get kidnapped today, and they'll put up a ransom for that child. And they'll pull in the power of a law enforcement to find that child. So how many black Americans, African Americans, were sold off and they were never found? Never found. They were beaten, raped, lynched, murdered, sold off from plantation to plantation, from 1619 to 1865. Only the devil would say we don't deserve reparations. Which line are you in? How could you, I just told you, if a child came up missing, there was a white girl that came up missing about a year or two ago in Lake Tahoe. I think she was 16 years old. Her face was on the news every day. They were trying to get people to find that child. They put everybody at ease by saying we're going to do whatever we can by any means necessary. They even put up a reward for anyone that had information that led to finding that child. Unfortunately, it ended in tragedy. They found her in the bottom of a lake in a car. But you know, they put up a reward to find that person. And that was just a few days. How dare from 1619 to 1865, you had people who were raped, beaten, murdered, lynched, and never could make a penny, never could bequeath anything to their future generation, never had the chance to protect their assets! And now they got to shucking and jiving because a few black athletes make tens of millions of dollars, and people act like, well, we don't need to pay reparations. Those guys are doing just fine. But I'm going to ask every person right now, whatever you do for work, what do you do when the check bounces? What do you do when your client gives you a check and it says insufficient funds? You call that client and you try to make it right, don't you? You wouldn't say, oh, that's just the way it goes. So think about that. You would call that client if you had insufficient funds, because your bank would tell you, and you would want them to make it right. Imagine doing that from 1619 to 1865, never getting paid, and never being able to bequeath anything to your future generations. You gotta know that's not right. That's why I love with Big C Sports. I'm gonna talk about sports too, but there's so many times I'm just trying to get our beautiful, intelligent athletes to stand up and join what California Senator Stephen Bradford's done. He said, I'm telling you, the brother is brilliant. SB 490 to recreate Freedmen's Bureau in California. That's the bank that would pay out reparations. He's not saying touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Oh, man, Willie, he's going all the way. Now, I'm sure he loves sports too. But imagine how he must feel. There was a white kid that went missing in Tahoe about a year or two ago. And it was on TV all the time. For one person. Look at the millions of black Americans, African Americans, that were sold off. And nobody came looking for them but a few people. And now you're going to say we don't deserve reparations for all that crap that happened from 1619 to 1865? We have a country right now that wants to send Ukraine after giving them $110 billion. Now they're trying to give them $60 billion. That's crazy. They acknowledge they're losing the war. That's like putting new car tires on a car that's on fire. Gotta get some new car tires. The car's burning down! And you're gonna use taxpayer dollars to buy new tires for a burning car. And then you argue, you have the unmitigated goal to argue, oh, we don't need to do reparations. That happened a long time ago. And I'm telling you, for all of our beautiful, intelligent athletes, we just got off the NBA basketball All-Star game, which in my opinion was a joke. They should find a way to make it competitive or just stop doing it. Do college athletes versus professional athletes. If they want to make it fun, I know there's so much money involved that that's going to do what I'm suggesting. They had a TV show called Pros versus Joes. Bring in some guys that play playground basketball and let them play maybe a quarter against some NBA players. I mean, there might be a lot of liability involved. That's why you call RDC and let us protect your assets. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. There's a lot of leagues around the country where people get together and they try to play sports and they do whatever they can to raise money for a different cause. But if the NBA is not going to do right by their fans, in my opinion, and they're going to let players just go up there and shoot the basketball up and down the court, it's not even competitive. To me, it's like they're robbing people of their money because they know that people are going to watch it. And that's okay. If that's what you want, that's what you want. But no one can tell me, when you listen to Big C Sports Podcast, you can't say that reparations are not due for the descendants of child slavery. You can't say it. You just can't say it. I want to give Double O some praise. Payout Committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She sent me this article on the United Nations says that strong leadership and political will are crucial to ensure reparatory justice for people of African descent. That's important to me because it's happening right now with Senator Stephen Bradford. And I want to say, for some people that may have missed it, if you take the time to pull out your phone or your electronic device and you Google Freedmen's Bank, Freedmen's Bank, United States Bank, also known as Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company. You got to understand, Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company from 1865 to 1874, it was important for African Americans and freedmen. The bank chartered by the United States Congress. You know that same Congress, March 1865, that same Congress endorses what we do with RDC, helping people protect their assets, if that makes sense to you. But that has to make sense to you. Because after several successful years in which the freedmen deposited more than $60 million in the bank, it collapsed in 1874 as a result of mismanagement and fraud. They appointed 50 white trustees to oversee the bank, and they stole the money. Black Americans could not even get a loan from the bank they put the money into. But white Americans were able to get loans. They were able to invest the money in treasury notes, stocks and bonds, and other securities of the United States. And how dare you say we don't deserve no reparations? That's important to me. I know we want to sit around watching sports, and that's part of what's our problem. We sit around just watching sports. I'm going to tell you what makes me a little bit different with the Big C team. I love what I'm saying because I speak the truth. And if you can't handle the truth, that's okay. But I want people to support California Senator Stephen Bradford the same way they support their favorite professional athlete. Because many of our professional athletes, they're not championing reparations. They already got their money. I got mine, get yours. I'm not being insidious. I'm just saying that there's some people that have a lot more platform than I have, and they say nothing. Out of 250,000 podcasts through iHeartRadio podcast, Big C Sports is in the top 100. You can give that some praise. I'm one beautiful, intelligent black man. I don't chuck and jive. And I just hope that we can get some of our beautiful, intelligent black men and women to start championing this. If you're afraid, at least do what California Senator Bradford's doing. He's got it in the books. He's got it through legislation. And that's important. SB 490 Freedmen's Bureau in California. Think about the power of that. The bank that was set aside for descendants of chattel slavery to put their money in the bank because the white banks told them no! trying to get you paid, and we're so busy watching the game. And think about that the next time you get a paycheck and it bounces. I want you to listen to this story. You gotta listen to the greatest speaker in civil rights.
The problem. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
That's one of the greatest speeches that you'll ever hear in the history of the United States.
Glasses on in the morning.
That's one of the greatest speeches that you'll ever hear in the United States by Dr. King. You got to give it more praise because people don't think about it. They think he just want to say we should overcome and I have a dream. But he was talking about getting a check. The same thing you do when you work and someone gives you a check and it bounces. You don't just say, oh, well, it's just something I'll deal with. You don't say that. You go back to get the money. You don't sit there and let them take it. You let them know there's a problem with this check. It has insufficient funds. And maybe it's an honest mistake. If it's an honest mistake, wouldn't you think they want to make it right? So if they're decent people, wouldn't they want to make it right? You heard Dr. King tell you. So if that's the case, why has America refused to pay reparations to descendants of chattel slavery? I just told you, if you got a bounce check, you want to call the client and make it right. And Dr. King told you they never paid descendants of chattel slavery. Now, how do you say we don't deserve it? But you love Dr. King. This is Black History Month. And I know most of our professional athletes, for whatever reason, they've been told to, be quiet about it. But so if you're afraid and you don't have the guts, a lot of athletes, they play with balls. I've been playing with balls my whole life. And sometimes playing with the balls is good. You can't even win a game if you don't play with the ball. In fact, if you play a baseball game and you bring a football, you got the wrong ball. If you play a soccer game and you bring a baseball, you have the wrong ball. If you put a person without courage in front of a man that owes him money, and he says, I don't have the balls to ask you for what I have, coming to me. Just so you ain't got the balls. But if the United States government's going to do right by trying to find missing white children when they go missing, why can't they do right by what happened through slavery? A lot of people went missing. They were kidnapped, murdered, sold off. Think about that for a moment when you say, oh, we don't deserve no reparations. Let's just play touchdown. Home run. 3-point play. Old man Willie. He's going all the way. I love playing that Dr. King speech because for even the people that say, oh, we don't need to pay no reparations, but they love Dr. King. Dr. King was doing what you do when you get a bounce check. He was asking the country to make it right. And people say, we don't deserve reparations, but when someone bounces the check for you, you want to go back to that person and make sure they do it right, don't you? Of course you do. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Big C Sports, I'm telling you, I love so much what I do with RDC because we want to help people protect their assets. 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. And my goal is to help create agencies all over the country to help people go to work protecting their clients' assets, if that makes sense to you. So when you think about sports agents, how much do sports agents make? It's often the first question asked by individuals thinking about a career. And unlike careers that typically have base salaries, a sports agent, their wages are not determined so much in the same way. If you're a sports agent, the performance of an athlete that you represent That's what determines how much money you make. So sports agents typically earn a percentage of the athlete's income. They learn more about sports agents, including what their work involves and the fast-paced career and how their wages are determined. Now, what does a sports agent do? What do they do? A successful sports agent, just like a successful financial planner, they help you protect your assets, if that makes sense to you. That's so important. And they have many duties. Representing athletes is one of the many duties of a professional sports agent. They might sit behind a desk, negotiating contracts, doing taxes, setting up product endorsements. They might also be traveling to meet with potential clients, athletes, and league representatives. Now, the sports agent's role is not a 9-to-5 job. As sports agents, they're required to work nights, weekends, and oftentimes long nights and weekends, scouting and also recruiting athletes. They work with athletes in setting up endorsement deals. They also help athletes manage their money. And when you think about it, it's a powerful business, a lot like a financial planner. And so what I think about, several factors go into determining the sports agent's fee. Now, just like you say you want to get paid for your efforts, what do you say is the remedy when someone gives you a bounce check? Just let it stay bouncing? Like a basketball, just bouncing and bouncing and bouncing and bouncing? Or do you go back to the person that gave you the bad check and say, this check has insufficient funds, and can we make sure we get that cleared up right now? And you know that's what you do. So what does the country say to descendants of child slavery that could never bequeath anything from the labor of ancestry from 1619 to 1865? Not one penny. Couldn't have life insurance, couldn't have health insurance, couldn't bequeath land, couldn't bequeath resources, nothing. But the white Americans, the Homestead Act of 1862, you know the Homestead Act of 1862, you can Google it too. You can Google it. They gave over 300 million acres of land away for free. But you have to be white. You can even be white European. You know, like President Zelensky getting all that money, and black Americans haven't gotten a dime yet. Same President Biden that wants to give him the money, he talked about reparations for descendants of child slavery. He's so far down on the polls now. The same group that got him over the hump last time, he giving Zelensky money before he give black Americans money. Descendants of child slavery. That's a fact. How does a sports agent earn their money? Think about that when people come around asking for the vote. They're going to be asking you for your vote pretty soon now. But they won't talk about reparations. But they will, right in your face, give money to foreign governments. Think about that when they ask for the vote. They signed the crime bill. I did a show yesterday. Mike Tyson's asking for clemency for a few thousand people that were incarcerated over marijuana, which is now you can get a license to sell it, but there are people who are in jail for it. Doesn't make any sense. So how do sports agents make their fee? They make it on commissions, just like a financial planner with RDC. You help people protect their assets. You get a commission with that. The sports agent gets a commission off the athlete's earnings. Now, the earnings vary by sport and by player. And the average sport agent's commission is between 4 and 10% of the player's contract. Some sports have a limit on the commission that an agent can charge. In the National Basketball Association, the NBA, just saw their All-Star game. I thought they got to improve the All-Star game. They're just taking people's money. They're not even trying. You're not even trying! But the NBA has a commission limit of 4%. So let's say someone signs a $4 million contract. You get 4% of that, which is $400,000. On a $10 million contract. If they sign just $1 million contract, you get 4%, which is $40,000. Now, the National Football League, the NFL, we just had Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas. Beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. The NFL has a commission limit on 3%. So you sign a $1 million contract, you make $30,000. You sign a $10 million contract, the agent gets $300,000. That's not a bad payday. But if that check were to bounce, you best believe they would try to get their assets to the person that wrote the check and ask them to make it right. You know you would. If you wouldn't, you're a liar. If your check bounced, you know you would ask the person that gave you the check to make it right. So how does Congress keep telling black Americans they don't deserve reparations? It's going to happen in California first. You mark my words. I keep telling you about it. The National Hockey League and Major League Baseball do not have any limits on commissions. In salary variations, the commissions an agent can earn, just like a financial services, a real estate agent, an insurance agent, a broker. The commission an agent earns depends on players' salaries for the sport they play. And that salary cap can put a limit on the commissions. For this reason, some of the highest paid players may not have the highest paid agents, if that makes sense to you. Endorsement deals, players might also get an endorsement from a product or company. And this also contributes to the sports agent's pay. But let's say a company writes a bounce check to a sports agent, and it bounces. It says you have insufficient funds. Do you think that sports agent would say, well, you know, that check was written a long time ago. That's just the way the ball bounces. That's not what they would say. They would say, get your assets over here and make good on the money. And you know they would. So if you're so insistent on someone not giving you a bounce check, how do you, with the same breath, say, oh, we don't deserve to pay reparations to descendants of child slavery? And you know if you got a bounce check given to you after you did the work, you want them to do it right. You want them to fix it. So if you want them to fix it, then how are you anti-reparations? Put your money where your mouth is. And Congress knows that. As we are breathing, they're trying to get more money to a burning house. Trying to buy new car tires for a burning car. Yet refuse to acknowledge the people that put you in office. The African American vote. You can give me some praise for that, I speak the truth. And then going to have the nerve to ask me, can you vote for me? I'm going to vote for the people who pass reparations now. Reparations forever. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Now, the sports agent, they get a part of the endorsement money. The amount of the agent gets in endorsement depends on the type of contract it is on the sport. And they typically earn from 10 to 20% of the athlete's endorsement contract. So if an athlete gets $1 million endorsement, that agent can earn 20% of that, which is $200,000. They can also earn just 10% of that, which is $100,000 on $1 million deal. That's a lot of money. But what if the check bounced? If the check bounced, do you think the agent would say, oh, well, you know, that check was written a long time ago? That check was written a long time ago. Why would I complain? Imagine 1619 to 1865, no pay. Everything that was done by descendants of child slavery to build this country from cradle to grave. Cradle to grave. In the land of the free and the home of the brave. And now, when the decent people of this world and in this country, they said, you know what, we were wrong by giving them a bounce check. You heard Dr. King talked about coming to get our check. There's other groups of people that were able to bequeath land and resources from their ancestry, not descendants of child slavery. And we have the right and the ability to do it now. When people say, oh, there's not enough money to do it, then why are we giving nearly $200 billion to foreign governments? Nobody says we don't have the money for that. They didn't vote in this country. They didn't build this country from cradle to grave, from sea to shining sea, for free. Location plays a big part in determining a sports agent's salary, and athletes' earnings vary by location and the team for which they play, and therefore impact the sports agent's salary. California, New York, and Florida are home to the industry's highest paid agents. When you think about how much a sports agent makes, like an insurance agent, a financial planner, or a real estate agent, how much a sports agent makes a year, if you're interested in finding out the wage for any occupation, you can go to the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics and see what the average annual wage is for the individual nationwide. The same cannot be said for sports agents because their salaries are entirely different. When you think about who are the highest paid sports agents, the salary for a sports agent depends on the player or player's salary. And you better believe if the salary for the sports agent had a bounce check, they would call their athlete and say, "Get your assets over here." It make good on the money. And you know that. Congress has been shucking and jiving for black Americans descendants of child of slavery. I just told you, if whoever you are, if you went and did some work and a customer gave you a check and the check bounced, you know you'd go back and ask them to make it right. You know it. And Congress knows that too. So who are the highest paid sports agents? The salaries for sports agents depend on the players and their player's salary. An experienced sports agent might have a higher chance of landing a well-paid athlete. They might represent one or multiple athletes. They might represent professional athletes or amateur athletes. And since most sports agents, they work off commissions, their salaries are going to be based on what the athletes earn. But I guarantee you, I bet your assets, if the agent's check bounced for insufficient funds, they would go back to the person that wrote that check and say, we need you, we need to talk. They say, what's wrong? They said, this check you gave me, it has insufficient funds. And the person that wrote the check says, so what? That's a long time ago. That check was given a long time ago. You would ask them to make it right. And if they didn't pay you for your labor, you can ultimately file a lawsuit against them. So why not treat descendants of child slavery with the same respect? Why not? So when you talk about sports agents, what percentage do sports agents make? I'm going to give you some examples of an athlete's yearly salary and the possible sports agent's commission according to Sports Management Worldwide. And that's why, as a business development manager with Big C Team, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. I'm going to put out a call to sports agents, I know several of them, to ask them to work with RDC and find out some of the entitlement programs that would help their athletes, and many of them would not fall upon financial ruin within 5 years after playing the game. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. So how much do NFL agents make? National Football League, the low salary is $375,000. Now, there are some guys making $20 million a year and more. So let's just say on a $375,000 contract, the agent would make $11,250. And let's say on a $20 million contract for an athlete that year, that agent can make as much as $600,000. That's a lot of money. But what would they do if the check bounced? If the check bounced, you think they say, oh, well, that check was written a long time ago? That's not what they say. They get on the phone, and they say, get your assets on the phone! We need you to fix that $600,000 check that bounced. And that's on one player. Imagine a whole group of people. What's the baseball percentage for an agent? Major League Baseball, the low salary for Major League Baseball is $400,000. Highest, some guys are making over $32 million a year. There's some guy makes more than that. So let's say you wrote a $400,000 contract as an agent for a Major League Baseball player. Your commission would be $16,000. That's a lot of money. Let's say if you had a $32 million contract for a baseball player, and you're the agent, you know your check would be $1.28 million, $1,280,000. But what would that agent do if the check bounced? If the check bounced, the agent would call the person issuing the check and say, get your assets to my office! Your $1.2 million check bounced. It had insufficient funds. And whether the person that wrote it said, so what? Well, that check was written a long time ago. You would ask for your money or you take them to court. And you know you would. So how do you, with the same breath, tell descendants of child of slavery they shouldn't get paid? And you know I'm telling you the truth. Everyone should advocate for reparations now. reparations forever, especially sports athletes. Let one of these beautiful, intelligent athletes' contract check bounce. They go right to the owner or have their agent call and say, hey, that check that you wrote for this superstar athlete, football, basketball, baseball player, you know the check bounced. And they would ask you to fix it. How much do NBA agents make? National Basketball Association. They have a low salary of $473,000, but their guys making a lot more than $28 million a year to just play with balls. So if you write a check, if you're an agent and the salary is $473,000, your check would be $9,460. If you have a contract if you're an agent, you have an athlete making $28 million. Your check commission is $1,120,000. But what would you do if that check bounced? Would you say, oh, it's okay, it's just a bounce check? You would say no. You would call the person that wrote you the check, the bad check, and say, get your assets into my office. We need to talk about the check that bounced. You know you would. And these athletes know it too. I'm so passionate about Big C Sports and reparations. I want to make sure that we get it. Because all of us, we deserve to get paid on our efforts. We deserve to get paid on our efforts. It doesn't matter if people like it or not. The reparations talk for any person that says they should not get paid on their labor. Well, if you're the beneficiary of a life insurance policy, shouldn't the money go to you from the principal? What if the check bounced? You would call the life insurance company and say, I need to speak to your assets! My check bounced! Especially you're going to get $1 million from a life insurance policy and say it bounced. You wouldn't say, oh, well, that policy was written a long time ago. You would call that insurance company and say, I need you to get your... If that makes sense to you. You need to cover the assets! 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. And that's why with RDC, a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth is so important. Because as a business development specialist, I'm growing agencies with RDC all over the country. I want to thank from sea to shining sea. Because if you have contracts that you write for athletes, or if you're a business and you want to have liability protection, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. And you're a sports agent, you guys know you do a good job of getting money for your athletes. But how do you protect those athletes once their playing days are over? If people were doing a great job, then you wouldn't have stories in Sports Illustrated saying that about 5 years after playing, a lot of guys are in financial ruin. There's a story about a professional athlete today, played football for the Vikings. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't know if it's 100% correct, but they were selling off his merchandise. If you're a former NFL football player, why are you selling off merchandise and you just retired within the last decade? Because someone didn't help him protect his assets, if that makes sense to you. That's why 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624 is powerful. I just want to say that it's so important to me. I really believe that we have so much potential in putting people to work in this great country of ours. I love doing that, especially as we talk about Black History Month. And I got some of the first African-American baseball players in Major League Baseball history. And some people write off the sport as merely entertainment, but perhaps they should look a little bit closer. And sports can not only ignite the passions and allegiances of fans and millions of people all over the world, but it also helps people overcome racial prejudice and discrimination. And when you look at what's happened to African-Americans, baseball players, to break the color line and play Major League Baseball in the modern era, these pioneers in one of America's most favorite sports withstood abuse from white people and resentment from white crowds and even teammates alike. Yet they persevered in changing the face of the game and making valuable contributions to the American Civil Rights Movement. You got to give that some praise. I'm doing it with Big C Sports. It's so important. Kurt Roberts, 1954-1956. Second baseman Kurt Roberts made history in 1954 when he became the first African-American to play for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Isn't that something? You hear about that with Big C Sports. Roberts first made a name for himself in the Negro Leagues with the Kansas City Monarchs. He also played in minor league baseball and the Mexican League before joining up with the Pirates. General Manager Branch Rickey, he signed Roberts to the team after facing mounting pressure from the local black community, and Roberts was chosen not only for his baseball skills, but also for his calm personality, which helped him cope with the racial slurs and the heckling he took. Kind of like the people who deal with racial slurs when we talk about reparations. Oh, we don't deserve to pay with reparations. Not one black person received any land from the homestead that was given by Congress in 1862. But not one white person and not one white family has given back what was given to them for free. And as Dr. Martin Luther King said earlier on my program, as I played his speech, there are many farmers being paid not to farm, but they have to be white. Do you understand that? They have to be white. Oh, we don't deserve to pay no reparations. Pull yourself up by your bootstrap, like I did. Now, the country gave white Americans over 300 million acres of land, and that's after slavery. Right before that slavery ended, and all the money they got in the land and resources during slavery, and then you had 100 years of Jim Crow, and black people, we still rise. Give that praise. I love doing that because it's just real. I just love what I do with Big C Sports Podcast. And it's not for everybody, but it's for people who want to listen. Give listeners some praise. That's important to me. I want to get into some NBA power rankings, but I may do it more justice by doing it next week because I want to see what happens at the weekends. But all's fair in love and war. It's week 18. Boston Celtics, Minnesota Timberwolves. After the All-Star weekend, they're looking good. Boston holds a top spot, and Minnesota is on the rise to number 2 after the NBA All-Star game in Indianapolis. They got to improve that game. A year ago, the Denver Nuggets came out of the All-Star break with a 4-game lead in the loss column atop the Western Conference. They still had some work to do, but that was a nice cushion in which they were operating, and they went on to win the NBA championship last year. I don't know what's going to happen this year, but I'll talk about it more and more as I get into it with Big C Sports. But I want to make a call to all the people that are dealing with contracts. Because Charlton Curry, Big C Sports team, business development consultant with RDC Incorporated, endorsed by Congress with the mandates that was signed by Lyndon Baines Johnson in 1966. Dr. King was with them. That's why I joined the Big C team, 800-772-8624. Endorsed by the California Department of Aging, the California Black Chamber of Commerce, the National Black Wall Street Project. I'm a co-chair in Northern California. You got to give that some praise. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. I love bringing it to you that way. I love bringing it to you raw. And I love doing Big C Sports Podcast. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I want to just mention something too, because I believe if a lead follow or get out of the way. I want people to take a look at what is California's black media. California black media is a great resource. The network, the circle of more than 30 media outlets across California, facilitates communication among members of the African American press and provides unique opportunities and collaboration and coordination. You got to realize that more than 30 independent black-owned media outlets working to serve California's African American communities. That's so powerful. It's part of the Big C team to talk about that. Our philanthropy partners, California Black Media, has experience working with an array of organizations and agencies to address a wide range of important issues in California. To me, that's so important. And I want to make sure that I do my part in making sure that people know there's opportunity out there if you look for it. Because Big C Sports with RDC will be interviewed next week. Give that some praise. I'm not shucking and jiving. I want to say this one more time. I want to help people go to work. California Black Media is a trusted advocate for more than 30 independent Black-owned or African-American-owned and operated news publishers, multimedia platforms, and broadcasters across California, the fifth largest economy in the world and the largest state in the union. At the core of the mission is a commitment to plead our own cause, a phase inspired by the words and wisdom of activist and educator, pioneering journalist Ida B. Wells. Google Ida B. Wells. The programs are designed to support the work and strengthen the editorial capacity of our local media partners. They provide impartial, fact-based, data-focused news coverage to our media partners, covering California politics, governmental affairs, and policies that impact the overall health and quality of life of African-American Californians. A working partnership with Ethic Media Services connects the organization to the journalism and conversations that unite and may potentially divide various ethnic communities across the state. The work also facilitates communication between African-American Californians, policymakers, the Black press, and community-based organizations, creating a communication loop that ensures African-Americans are informed, engaged, and participating in the process that strengthen and define democracy. And they're working with the Big C team. Get that some praise. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. What I always love doing on every Big C Sports podcast, I love saying reparations now, reparations forever. I love giving praise to my beautiful family. On my mother's side, my great-grandmother called her Mamo. My great-grandfather called him Pop. They always made sure there's lots of love in the family, lots of food in the belly. Pop can fix anything with his hands. Planes, trains, and automobiles. Really do appreciate him. My beautiful mama, well, my beautiful grandmother, my dear, beautiful, loving, kind woman. She was a seer. She could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, present, and future. And I found a lie detector test that does the same thing. I got it at the dollar store. But I love my dear, just wonderful woman, always looks over me. Then my beautiful grandfather, Hezekiah, another wonderful person. He was a seer, could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, present, and future. And then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and then coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Always saying rise and shine, the best person I ever met in my life. On my father's side, my grandfather, Albert Curry, he was a pastor, he had 3 churches. He also owned 2 gas stations in Oakland. He also owned 40 acres of land like Frederick Douglass, with helping President Abraham Lincoln with the Emancipation Proclamation. But at the same time, my grandmother, Alberta Curry, worked side by side with my grandfather with the 3 churches and the 2 gas stations. I was 8 years old walking through a hallway in Oakland. She touched me on my forehead. She said, "There's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak." And now I'm on 29 podcast platforms and streaming on 4 TV platforms. She spoke life into me. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Always saying develop your mind to its highest extent. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Always saying go forward. A voracious reader, really do appreciate Todd. Love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors, and 3.5 years from a major university. She set up the very first interview for Big C Sports back at Salem Media, and it was the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before until the Big C Sports showed up there. And then shenanigans happened, and it went away. I'm still standing, and they're having layoffs. I want to give God praise. My beautiful Daisy, you can be anything you want to be. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always pray Isaiah 54:17. That no weapon formed against you will prosper. You can do anything you want to do. and we're going to get that reparations also. And my beautiful handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, very smart, every night a good man. Malcolm, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always read the newspaper to get stats on players and teams for the Big C Sports Podcast. One day, Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since. Now on 29 podcast platforms and 4 TV streaming devices. One day, Malcolm said, Dad, do you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. And now it's on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Malcolm, you can be anything you want to be. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always praise God. Play Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. I'm so proud of your son. You too will get reparations because your daddy is always championing reparations now, reparations forever. And then Big C with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, always saying you gotta believe, you gotta believe, you gotta believe, saying let's get ready to rumble. I love him saying, welcome to the show, ESPY nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts, I have no cerebral teleprompters, I have no producer in my ear. All I have is my higher self. And some collard greens that I keep in my teeth every now and then. But as I always say, that's my story and I'm sticking with it. If you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Oh, you can't tell me what to do. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad. And fathers against drunk drivers are mad. Oh, I know how to hold my drinks and drive. It's one of the easiest things that to do. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off. But don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of the car after they've been drinking and driving. The life you say may be your own or someone you love. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that crap. Anybody going upside your head, call 911. No man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that crap. Nobody. Pick up the phone, call 911. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, back by popular demand, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. Every time I listen to Big C Sports, it makes me want to say reparations now, reparations forever. And then I float like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. But I always honor President Abraham Lincoln and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when they said, President Biden, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Come on, say it like the team has won the game. Sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Say it like you want to be reelected by the black vote. Sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.